Saturday Slam and Jam here on the Athletic NBA Daily, brought to you by Amazon Prime. On today's show, we're doing our good, bad, and what? And it's Heat Week. Unbelievable that it's Heat Week. Listen, if you listen back to the end of last week's episode, we were disappointed for Heat Week, and boy, were we wrong. And then we'll do some trivia. But before we get to any of that, Al, tell us what happened in the NBA this week.
Andrew, the top story this week begins with an apology because when the wheel of fandom landed on the Miami Heat last week, Andrew and I were audibly disappointed. And this is our formal apology to Heat Nation because the top story this week is the Miami Heat and specifically Bam Adebayo, who scored 83 points in a basketball game against the Wizards this week. That's right, Bam Adebayo, not exactly known for his scoring, more than doubled his previous career high of 41, and in doing so, passed Kobe's 81 for second on the all-time list. Now, the game quickly became a flashpoint in the ongoing debate among NBA fans about whether any of us actually like basketball. Was Bam's 83 a fun, improbable moment to be celebrated? Or does everything need to be examined through the most negative lens possible every single day until we die? Heat coach Eric Spoelstra made his opinion very clear afterwards, saying, quote, "I apologize to absolutely no one, period." The Heat, as a team, meanwhile, are one of the hottest teams in the league, having won 7 in a row, which we will talk about a little bit later. Now, the Heat aren't the only team in the East on a hot streak, with the Eastern Conference playoff picture completely changing this week. The Magic, winners of 6 straight, and the Heat have moved into the 5 and 6 positions in the East, while the Raptors have fallen into the play-in, having lost 6 of their last 8. In fact, going back even further, the Raptors haven't beaten a team in the top 10 of either conference since January 25th.
Wow.
The last loss was particularly bad, a 122-111 loss to the Pelicans. In the final 90 seconds, DeJounte Murray crossed up Jamal Shead and dropped him to the ground before hitting a 3. Murray then stood over Shead, flexing. And other than Emmanuel Quickley, none of the other Raptors seemed to care all that much, causing a lot of distress among the Raptors fan base. The Raptors are now only a game and a half up on the Hawks, who have won a league-leading 8 games in a row. Now, the best team Atlanta beat during that stretch was the 10-seed Trailblazers. But hey, they all count, and Atlanta needs the good vibes after the league decided to cancel Magic City Night, the planned special event celebrating the famous wing restaurant in Atlanta. The NBA apparently took issue with the event because this wing restaurant, I guess, is so good it gets people dancing when you go there. I don't see what the big deal is. Back on the court, more bad news is that Atlanta's soft schedule is about to take a hard turn with 2 games each against Orlando, Boston, and Cleveland to close the season, along with games against Houston, Detroit, the Knicks, and Miami. Now, in the West, the team with the longest winning streak is the Oklahoma City Thunder, who won a couple marquee games against Denver and Boston at home. In the game against Denver, the Thunder were down all their bigs except J. Will, but were able to pull out the win after SGA essentially hit 2 game-winning step-back threes with a Jokic 4-point play sandwiched in between those. The game was hotly anticipated because it was the first meeting since Lou Dort was ejected for tripping Jokic. While there weren't any more fights or crazy faces in this one, Lou Dort did manage to dislocate his arm and swing it in a way that defies physics to hit Jokic in the face late in the game, picking up another flagrant in the process. But the story of this game and the game against Boston was Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who across the 2 matchups averaged 35 points, 7.5 rebounds, and 12 assists while shooting 69, 42, 92. SGA has taken firm control of the MVP race, now a minus 900 betting favorite. And interestingly, Wemby has moved ahead of Jokic for the second best odds at plus 1,500. Speaking of Wemby, the Spurs had a fun week as well. First, in a game against the Clippers, the Spurs were down 25 points with 9 minutes left in the third quarter, but came all the way back to complete the second largest comeback in Spurs franchise history, winning 116-112. Next, in a game against the Rockets, San Antonio just blew out Houston 145-120. And then in a spicy game against Boston, the Spurs got another impressive win, 125-116, a game in which Wemby hit a career-high 8 3-pointers. Also in that game, Jaylen Brown was ejected after arguing with the refs following a no call on a turnover where Brown felt he was pushed by Steph Castle. The Spurs finished the week with a loss to Denver without Wemby, which brings us to the final top story this week, the wild state of the current West standings behind OKC and San Antonio. These standings are changing every night and probably will until the end of the season. But as of Friday morning, your 3 seed is the Los Angeles Lakers, winners of 4 in a row. It felt like just a week ago, everyone was like, oh, this Lakers team sucks. They're no good. They've won 4 in a row. They're the 3 seed. Number 4 seed is Houston. Number 5 seed is now Denver, who's won 2 in a row. Minnesota, who I felt like they were the 3 seed just a second ago, they've lost 3 in a row. They're down to 6, and they are now only a game up on the Phoenix Suns, who are in 7th. So we got a lot of any matchup between these two teams the rest of the season is going to be a huge matchup. Yeah. Very exciting. And those are the top stories this week, Andrew.
Yeah, I don't know what feels more improbable, the 83 game or the 83-point game, or the Lakers being the 3 seed. This both just feel like, what?
I know. If we get to the end of the season, the Lakers are the 3 seed. I mean, but that's like, it's wildly impressive.
It is. They just kind of hung around.
I mean, I was watching the OKC Boston game, and obviously there's been MVP talk about Jaylen Brown this year. And I was just thinking about Luka's MVP case.
Yeah.
It's like, they only have 2 fewer wins than the Celtics. It's not like they're like some significantly worse team in the standings.
Yep.
And Luka obviously had several great games this week, which brings us to good, bad, what? Where we talk about something we liked this week, something we didn't like, and something that left us confused. So, Andrew, what was your good this week?
So a lot of talk about Shai. Obviously, he broke this Wilt record. There's a lot of MVP talk. But is there enough clutch player of the year talk for Shai? Is there not enough?
Is there enough in general, Andrew?
Is there enough? I haven't heard anybody buzzing about Shai for clutch player of the year. But he's making his case this week. Against the Celtics, he hit this really big shot to put the Thunder up 102-100. That wasn't the game-winning shot, but it was a very important shot in that game in the clutch. We also saw him hit what was basically 2 buzzer beaters, like you mentioned, not buzzer beaters, 2 game-winning shots against the Nuggets. Shout out to Jay Will for allowing that to happen. Extremely clutch. He hit a step-back 3 with Draymond there, where he just told Isaiah Joe, please go away so I can hit this over Draymond, and step-back 3 against the Warriors. These are all consecutive games, by the way. In the game before that, it was against the Knicks to put the Thunder up 7. He hit a step-back 3 over OG Anunoby. He's been ridiculously clutch lately. It just feels like he will not miss. And you pair all of that with the fact that he actually has the most clutch points this season. And also, by the way, to everyone that has an online internet account, he does not have the most clutch free throws.
Oh, no.
This season. Those actually go to both Jokic and Jamal Murray. Both have more clutch free throws than Shai at the moment, with Cade Cunningham right on the heels of Shai. He's shooting nearly 50% from the field in the clutch, which is not the best, and shooting 56% in the clutch. Jamal Murray's 52. Cade is actually at 50. Shai's just a shade below 50. But when we're talking about moments, Shai's just been racking up these clutch moments this week. And I wonder if not only is he locking up the MVP, but is he sealing another award, an award that maybe no one cares about, but is he sealing a second award this week with the clutch player of the year? I think so. I just don't know that anybody's been more clutch this season whenever you total up the points and then you look at all these moments that he's had, especially against, these have been quality opponents this whole week for the Thunder. It's been one of the more impressive weeks for OKC, and the reason that they've won all of these games is because of how clutch Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is. So for everyone gearing up for the Clutch Player of the Year award, might take a look at Shai.
Now, Andrew, you're obviously a huge fan of this award. Can you name me the 3 previous winners of this award?
I know De'Aaron Fox has won it.
He won the inaugural.
He did.
Clutch Player of the Year award. I believe that's why it was memorable.
Yes.
And
as a Clutch Player of the Year historian, I've really lost my bearings.
Last year, it makes sense. Jalen Brunson.
Oh yeah, Yeah. I remember
and
that
then
now.
and then Steph won in 24. I actually don't remember that one. I remembered Brunson and Fox.
I don't remember Steph winning it, but you know what? I'll remember this one. I'll remember this one.
You'll remember this one,
obviously,
and you're going to start remembering.
Yeah.
My good this week is a player I should have picked for my post All-Star break leap team, Tristan de Silva of the Orlando Magic. De Silva has been on a tear post All-Star, and he's been one of the reasons the Magic have found their footing lately, winning 6 in a row.
Yep.
In 12 games post All-Star break, he is averaging 13.5 points, 5.7 rebounds, 2.7 assists per game on 68% true shooting. Compare that to 54% true shooting pre-All-Star. He's been getting way more minutes, more starting opportunities over this recent stretch. Part of that is Anthony Black's absences, but he's really taken advantage of it. This week, he had 23 and 26 points in consecutive games. The 26 was a career high in this disgusting overtime win against the Wizards, of course, on Thursday. If you're looking to get a career high right now, the Wizards, they're open for business. Come on down. You can do it. De Silva had 26, 7, and 2 with 4 steals and 2 blocks in the game. And he was one of the main reasons this game didn't become an awful loss for the Magic, which, again, this went to overtime.
Yeah.
I just remember in his draft, a lot of Thunder fans wanted him. And I just wasn't super high on him because he just seemed like one of those wings that theoretically does a little bit of everything, but maybe doesn't do anything at an elite level. But the upside for those kinds of players is that when it does work, they can be a really valuable 4th, 5th starter, kind of like a Swiss Army knife type player who doesn't take anything off the court when they play. And that vision of De Silva is starting to come into full view over this recent stretch. And a big part of why it's working is that he's developing into a much more reliable shooter. So he shot under 34% from 3 as a rookie. He's up to 39% in his second year, up to over 42% in his last 30 games. And since All-Star break, he's been one of the most efficient corner three-point shooters in the league, hitting 55% of his corner threes while taking the 4th most corner threes in the league over that span. So it's not just, he's making a few here or there. This is a high volume for him. For a team that has desperately needed shooting from their role players, it feels like De Silva is starting to look like this incredibly valuable role player for Orlando because he's providing that shooting while also not really taking anything away from their overall defensive identity. Mm-hmm. So Tristan de Silva, he's my good this week, and I should have picked him.
Yeah,
Scoop.
Yeah, I like that. He just brings them so much balance. Like they just had so many guys that kind of do the same thing, and then so many guys that don't shoot and don't shoot it well.
They had a lot of like one-way players over these last couple of years.
Yeah,
and Tristan de Silva, I don't know that his ceiling is like super high or anything, but he just feels like a very solid two-way role player that you can count on.
Yeah,
or at least that's what he's developing into.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, Andrew, what is your bad this week?
Well, how about the guys that aren't very clutch at all? I was looking at clutch numbers and couldn't look away from some of these percentages. So these are from the top 50 players in field goal attempts in the clutch, and these are the worst of the top 50. Okay, coming in at number 5, these two guys are tied for 5th for the worst clutch players of the year. Brandon Ingram and Con Knippel are both 33% in the clutch this season. Not so good.
Not so good. And I feel like the Brandon Ingram, that's becoming more noticeable as of late.
Yeah, it's certainly becoming a thing. Number 4, Michael Porter Jr. is shooting 30% in the clutch.
I'm surprised he's had enough clutch moments.
He's one of the top qualify. 50 clutch shooters, at least in terms of field goal attempts this season.
Okay.
Next, a guy that will come as no surprise to anybody, Paolo Banchero, 26% in the clutch. Yeah. So it's been really rough. It's just a lot of it's shot selection stuff, which I do think can get cleaned up. And
he's been better as of late. I almost was going to talk about him this week, and then of course he goes out and scores 14 against the Wizards in this overtime game. So I put it on pause. But he had some like very illuminating quotes this week, talking about not being selected as an all-star and just kind of needing to like rewatch film and get better. He's saying the right things. He is definitely playing better post all-star break, but also not surprised he's on that list.
Yeah, he's obviously extremely talented, and sometimes like guys, if they can get serious about it and they will actually take an honest look at their shot selection, they can get a lot better through that, which is just something that he needs to do. Number 2, and this was kind of why I wanted to do this list because it was just really funny to me. Bam Adebayo has been 26% in the clutch this season. the guy who toppled Kobe is 26% in the clutch. And then I don't know what this award would be, like the most anti-clutch person of the year.
Yeah, anti-clutch.
Like the anti-clutch winner of the year. And I don't know that anybody's touching this. And also this number's not going anywhere because this guy's not playing anymore, is Jaren Jackson Jr. at 21%. Congratulations, wow. Jaren Jackson. You, sir, are the least clutch in the NBA this season.
Congrats, Triple J. My bad starts with going back to Bam's 83-point performance. So the top story this week. The funniest part of that performance was watching that Wizards team slowly realize they were also about to be a part of history.
Yeah.
And gradually ramping up their defensive activity to do everything they could to avoid that fate. Now, ultimately, they were not able to avoid history, despite triple teaming Bam at times during the stretch or down the stretch. This moment will likely end up being the low point of the Wizards tank, which every tanking team I feel like eventually experiences. You know, there's that moment when the spotlight is suddenly on you and there's nothing you can do to hide the disgusting basketball product you've created. You know, it's almost a rite of passage when you're a tanking team. And so I thought it might be fun to rank the 5 lowest moments of recent tanking teams. Now, there's only 5 spots. So right off the bat, honorable mention, apologies to Utah, getting fined $500,000 for substitution patterns in a game they won. Very funny. It's probably a low point, but it's almost more funny. I actually don't think that's too bad. I don't think their fans were too broken up about that, but just missed the cut. Okay. Now, I did these off the top of my head.
Yeah.
So if I missed like something obvious, please let me know. So number five lowest tanking moment is when the Rockets were forced to suspend Christian Wood and Kevin Porter Jr. after what transpired during a game against the Nuggets. So the series of events that led to the suspensions were kind of bizarre. Before the Nuggets game, then coach Stephen Silas decided to bench Christian Wood to start the game because Wood didn't show up to the daily COVID testing, which caused shoot-around to be delayed. Fast forward to halftime. Kevin Porter Jr. got in a confrontation with assistant coach John Lucas and left the arena. Just went home. Just drove home. Gone. Then in the second half, because he got benched in the first half, Christian Wood refused to come back in the game when Stephen Silas was trying to bring him in the game. He just had to go to someone else because Christian Wood refused to get up. So both were suspended by the team. All of this came out in the reporting at the time, and it just painted this picture of a very dysfunctional team, which I think is deserving of the number 5 spot.
Yep.
Number four, lowest tanking moment. I'm giving it to the Wizards, letting Bam Adebayo score 83 points. It's one of the most improbable moments in league history. I still can't believe it happened. But the one part that does make sense is that the Wizards were involved. That part of it makes sense to me. Wildly embarrassing performance, and the increased defensive activity as the game went on just made the ending that much more embarrassing. Like, even when you tried, you had nothing. At least let it be someone like Luka, you know? Luka, SGA, like literally anyone. But Bam, you let Bam score 83. Lucky for the Wizards, though, people are going to think of Bam first when thinking about this game.
Yeah.
So it doesn't rank any higher on our list. Number 3, lowest tanking moment, the Thunder, losing to the Memphis Grizzlies by 73 points.
Yeah.
Now, similar to Bam scoring 83, it's one of those records that just doesn't seem real as it's happening. You need such a perfect storm for everything to go that wrong. And in this case, it was a very bad Thunder team. They were down SGA. Josh Giddey was out. They were playing this young, deep Memphis Grizzlies team. Like, Memphis wasn't trying to run up the score necessarily. They just were playing the guys on their bench, and they were doing a lot better than the Thunder. The game was over so fast that Desmond Bane started this game, only scored 2 points on 1 of 6 shooting, and they still won by 73. As a Thunder fan, I still get excited when I see a team is up by 50, hoping that maybe this is the night this terrible curse will be removed. But for now, it is our tanking burden to carry.
Yeah, a lot of we had to taste our own blood quotes coming from Mark Daignault, on
Yeah.
that one still. So
Yeah. The number 2 lowest tanking moment is the Pistons' 27-game losing streak. Everything surrounding this losing streak was brutal. The hiring of Monty Williams, playing Killian Hayes so much early in the
yeah,
season, Troy Weaver getting it into it with fans at games, watching Cade look more and more sad as the streak continued. Pistons fans deserve all the good vibes this team has given them the last 2 years because truly no fan base has ever had to experience a stretch like that. And you're probably saying, how is that not number 1? 27-game losing streak. But the reason why I'm putting the number 1 at number 1 is because the Pistons bounced back from that very quickly. The number 1 lowest tanking moment is when the league office pressured the Sixers to hire Jerry Colangelo, which
yeah,
led to Sam Hinkie quitting and then Brian Colangelo getting hired. There's never been a worse way to end a tank. Being so bad that the league essentially forces a regime change is wild enough. But then hiring the son of the guy the league pressured you to hire while telling fans it had nothing to do with his hiring, like nothing's ever topping that. And then you factor in the Fultz Tatum trade, Burner Gate, the Tobias Harris contract while letting Jimmy Butler go to Miami. I think the Sixers takeover is an easy number 1 lowest tanking moment for me.
yeah, agreed. There's so many things. There's almost too many things for the
There's
Sixers
too many things.
during that time.
All right, so Andrew, that brings us to your what?
I was just looking at some of these records that Wilt holds because obviously we've had the 83-point game, which causes everybody to think about the 100-point game, and then you have Shai passing him and consecutive 20-point games, and so you're just like, what happened with this Wilt Chamberlain guy? So I just thought I would read some of the records that he still holds that just seem impossible to ever pass. Obviously, he has the 100-point game. He has the highest season average at 50.4 points per game.
Yes,
He has the most total points in a season, 4,000 points in a season, and the most 50-point games in a season with 45 50-point games in a season. He also holds the record for the most career rebounds at 23,924. Just for like context, like when we think about like great rebounders of like the modern era, you think about guys like Dwight Howard, who only has 14,000 career rebounds. Like that feels impossible. He averaged 22.9 rebounds per game one season, which is the most, and also had the most rebounds in a single game with 55 rebounds. I don't even know if teams can miss that many shots these days.
What would be the scenario where that could happen?
I don't know. I mean, that just feels impossible. He set the record for the highest minutes per game in a season, which was 48.5, which that's not going anywhere. There's no one crazy enough to do that in the modern era. And averaged 45.8 minutes per game for his career. And he went his entire career without fouling out, which also is crazy.
That is crazy.
He secured the most consecutive 30, 40, and 50-point games, led the league in total assists as a center in the 67-68 season. He won MVP and Rookie of the Year in the same season. The stuff that he did was just, most of it is just untouchable. And it's just really cool when you can mention like a record that someone is approaching of Wilt's, or if in the case of Shai, you pass it. And what's crazy to me is that Shai is the one to pass it. Like he needs to be mentioned and thought of as like one of the great scorers ever because of his consistency. And I know a lot of people get hung up on the free throw conversation, but he's one of the greatest scorers in the history of the league. And it's just really cool. When Mark talks about Shai and his scoring, he talks about like his precision with his craft. Like he is like one of the most precise scorers there is, as far as like getting to his spots, knowing exactly what he wants to do. And we've seen that, over the course of his career, just get better and better at that.
Also, shout out to Wes Unseld, also won MVP and Rookie of the Year.
True.
The same year.
True.
While averaging 13.8 points per game. Isn't that wild?
That is wild.
18 rebounds per game, though.
Yeah, that's crazy.
My what I looked at isolation scoring. I was inspired by watching SGA have what I assume was one of his best weeks of isolation basketball. Currently, SGA takes 7 isolation possessions per game. He scores 1.19 points on those possessions. That's the best mark among the high volume ISO scores this year, but I wanted to see how it stacked up against recent ISO scores. So here are the top 5 high volume ISO scores going back to the 15-16 season, because that's as far as NBA.com goes back. And for a volume cutoff, I focused on guys who had around 5 or more ISO possessions per game. So at number 5 is 2017 Kyrie Irving, 1.12 points on 5.1 ISOs per game. At number 4 is 2020 Harden, 1.12 points on 14.1 possessions per game. You may have noticed the jump we just made in possessions. Number 3, 2023 Dame, 1.17 points on 4.9 possessions per game.
Wow.
And number 2 is this year's SGA, 2026 SGA, 1.19 points on 7 ISOs per game. And the number 1 ISO scorer in these last 10 years, 2018 James Harden. During his MVP season, he scored 1.22 points on 10 ISOs per game.
Yo.
So SGA certainly having one of the best ISO seasons in recent memory, but this is also just a good reminder about how insane peak James Harden was. The efficiency combined with the volume is something we might not see again for a long time. And one of the seasons I didn't include because it just missed the cut for efficiency was 2019 Harden. He had 16.4 ISOs per game, which was easily the highest of this last decade. I mean, Luka and SGA, they're like the best ISO scorers of this current era.
Yeah.
And in their best seasons, we're talking about 7 possessions per game.
Yeah.
Seven ISOs per game.
Yeah.
The other funny thing I found, which is really my is remembering how bad of an ISO scorer Russell Westbrook was. Among players who had at least 5 ISOs per game going back to the 15-16 season, Russ was the only player to score under 0.9 points per possession, and he did it 3 different seasons. In his Wizards season, which was the worst among all these seasons I looked at, he scored 0.78 points per isolation.
Uh-oh.
So that made me say, what?
What? What are you doing, Russ?
Yeah.
Man. Something else that made us say, what? Was the fact that we had a really good Heat week. And we're going to talk to Wes Goldberg about that right after this quick break.
All right, Andrew, it's time for the Wheel of Fandom, the weekly segment where we spin a wheel, it lands on a team, and we become fans of that team for the next week. Last week, the wheel landed on the Miami Heat, and in one of the biggest surprises in Slam and Jam history, Heat Week was possibly the best spin of the wheel we've ever had.
Unreal.
First, the Heat won all their games, 4-0, including 2 really impressive wins over the Hornets in Charlotte and the Pistons at home. But then, in a game against the Washington Wizards, Bam Adebayo scored 83 points, which is a career high, if you're wondering. It's also the second most points ever scored in an NBA game. Bam had 31 in the first quarter alone. He had already broken LeBron's franchise record of 61 by the end of the third quarter. And then in the fourth, the Wizards started playing defense, triple teaming Bam at points, but could not keep him off the line, where he took an NBA record 43 free throws, including his 82nd and 83rd points to finish the night. Now, Bam didn't need to score 83 in the Heat's final game of the week, a 112-105 win over the Bucks. After this 7-game winning streak, the Heat are now 38-29, 6th in the East, essentially tied with the Magic, who are 5th, and who play the Heat on Saturday. Per Cleaning the Glass, the Heat have the 13th-ranked offense and 4th-ranked defense. Andrew, if the Heat are our favorite team, who is our guest?
We've got Wes Goldberg of the Locked On Heat podcast. Wes, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. What a week for you guys.
Wow.
I mean, we just had you on the NBA Daily, and the conversation was like, is there anything interesting about the Heat?
It's so interesting. That part is interesting because all of a sudden they got interesting. And
yeah.
Dwayne Wade and Shaquille O'Neal, I don't know if you guys saw their clip that went around. They did a podcast together, and D Wade was saying how because he was in Miami recently for the 20-year anniversary of the 2006 championship.
Yep.
And they were talking about how they were walking around Miami and there was no buzz about the Miami Heat. There was no buzz about the Heat. And then Bam goes out and scores 83 points. And unprompted, I think it was Eric Spoelstra bringing up, like, you've got D Wade out here saying that there's no buzz. Well, there's going to be a buzz now. And it's just like this crazy thing. A team just kind of that was dormant for seemingly 3 or 4 regular seasons straight. 83 points, man. That's wild.
Yeah. Let's start there. One of the most improbable games in NBA history. You were in the building for this one. What was the experience like watching this game as someone who covers this team and that's been around Bam for a while?
So I'm so glad you said improbable, because that was my take right away. I think it is the most improbable game in NBA history. I mean, Bam Adebayo has averaged 16 points per game for his career. And a couple of those, is because early in his career he was coming off the bench and things like that. But this is a guy who's topped 20 points per game for a season once prior to this year. To score 83 and be in the conversation with Wilt and Kobe is just absolutely wild. I mean, those guys are prolific scorers, the prolificest of scorers, and Bam is certainly not that. And so, first of all, the experience was wild. I mean, it was building. I had this running kind of, because he scores 31 points in the first quarter, and I have my running game notes of it. Just because it goes away from strategy right away, because the Wizards are not a strategy-based basketball team at this point anyway. And so I'm just kind of keeping this running game notes, like checklist of records that he's breaking as it's happening. And immediately on Locked On Heat after, I just read that. I mean, it was like, by 31 points, most in a quarter by anybody in Miami Heat history, most by a center in like the 3-point era in one quarter, just all these kind of crazy stats. And then he breaks D Wade's record, and then he breaks LeBron's Miami Heat career high. And then obviously we start talking about 70 points, and then he's at 77, and it was just these crazy things. And it was just, it's surreal. It felt like I was on another planet. It wasn't even a basketball game. And I didn't really fully realize that part of it until I was in the building Thursday night for the Bucks game. And I was like, oh, this feels different. Like, this feels like a real basketball game where things like basketball things are happening. And it wasn't until that point where it settled in, just like how out of body the entire thing really was. In terms of being able to see Bam do it, I couldn't be happier for him. I mean, this is a guy who was kind of a maybe you could argue like a sleeper pick at the end of the lottery. In his draft. It was seen as a little bit of a reach there when the Heat took him at 14, and they grab him, and he's this guy who didn't really play a ton at Kentucky, just a little bit, kind of a run and jump athlete who said, oh yeah, he could probably be pretty versatile. We don't really know if he's a power forward or a center. And he comes in, doesn't play much his first couple of years, and there's real friction between him and the coaching staff in terms of he wants playing time and they're not giving it to him. Very similar to what's happening with Khalil Ware recently, but he kind of goes through all of that, turns himself into this dribble handoff hub. The Heat make the finals in the bubble, with Bam kind of becoming this guy and this defensive anchor at that point. And then it's just this Jimmy Butler-led experience with Bam as sort of the passenger in like riding shotgun for this whole thing. And, eventually he's just logging minutes and logging time. And it's almost this Udonis Haslem type effect where UD was sort of the passenger with D Wade, but Haslem's just logging games, logging minutes, and he keeps climbing up like Miami Heat franchise record books. And suddenly, like, Bam is now the all-time leader in Heat defensive rebounds and the second player in Heat history to score 10,000 points. And you look up and you're like, oh my God, this guy's been here for a really long time, just sort of quietly putting the work in and developing and improving every single year, to the point where now he has a legitimate 3-point shot. He's averaging almost 6 3-point attempts per game this year. Again, run and jump athlete who didn't have much of an offensive skill set, has turned himself into a 10,000 point scorer just like a week before he scored 83 points in a basketball game. It is the most improbable thing I've ever seen in the NBA.
Well, have you been surprised by like the magnitude of the discourse that's been ignited online?
The honest answer is yes, and I'm ashamed because I have been online for so long. Like, of course this was gonna suck. Like afterwards, of course nobody could just be happy for the guy.
Right.
I do understand the Kobe factor, and I am sensitive to it. Right. Like, I understand that Kobe's people's hero, and the way that Kobe did it when he scored 81 was so Kobe-like. Right. It was majestic scoring, mid-range artwork. But Bam was not artwork. Bam was Godzilla tearing up the town. Like, it was just, it was brutal. It was ugly. And I understand why it might not have been for everybody, but it happened. And I don't, if Bam was ever going to score 80 points, it wasn't going to look like the way Kobe did it. So it probably looked closer to how the way Wilt did it, but nobody's ever seen it.
Right,
So,
yeah.
or, it's not a record. So, I shouldn't have been surprised, but I get it. Look, the free throw attempts is a thing across the league, right? People hate Shai Gilgeous-Alexander because of the free throw attempts. Andrew, I know you know this, but if you watch a Thunder game, like, this is different. He's getting to the free throw line. He's not grifting. He's not cheating the game. This is different.
Mm-hmm.
And if you watch that game that Bam played, the Wizards were fouling him because they didn't know what else to do. I rewatched it, and it's just like, yeah, this wasn't throwing your head back trying to get a call. This was just kind of the Wizards being helpless.
That was kind of the funniest part of it, just watching the Wizards gradually just try to play more and more defense, and they just couldn't help themselves. Like I would say like the vast majority of those foul calls were completely legit, and just the Wizards had nothing. They had nothing.
They
to
started
offer.
hacking them.
Yeah,
they started hacking because they didn't know what else to do. And they're like, oh man, he can make free throws, and it was one of those deals. So the Wizards actually, I thought it was interesting. They opened the game. It looked like they had zero strategy whatsoever. And to be fair, that's probably closer to the truth than what I'm about to say. But they were single covering him, which we have seen teams do lately, right? Where they don't, with this Heat offense, where they're going to try to spread you out and play up tempo and try to get you one-on-one. Where you really get in trouble is when you start helping on those isolation attempts, whether it's Bam or Wiggs or Norm Powell driving or whoever it's going to be. When you get in trouble is when you start helping, because then they're able to start spinning the ball around and finding openings in the defense. So we've seen teams over the last couple of months start to stay home on all the Heat offensive players, even when they don't have the ball. Just stay home. Don't rotate. Don't give them the opening. And for the most part, because the Heat don't have an elite shot creator, they don't have that kind of elite isolation player. At times it can work, right? It could start to slow down Miami's gears a little bit. So that's what the Wizards did. They were like, we're just going to stay home on Bam. We'll let Sarr play him one-on-one. And in that first quarter, Sarr actually did okay the first few minutes, and then Bam figured Sarr out. And then you got into the Wizards rotation, where poor Anthony Gill, I think, is the new Jalen Rose right now. And so, it was at that point, it's like, well, you can't play him one-on-one. For some reason, Keefe didn't make an adjustment when it was obvious that, like, okay, well, 31 in the first quarter might be a little bit of a problem. And then eventually they just started double and triple teaming him and started denying him. But by then it was too little too late.
So zooming out from the 83-point game and just looking at this recent win streak, which is their longest of the season, what has been the difference for Miami over this stretch other than having a player score 83 points?
Yeah, that definitely helped. Although, they probably didn't need that to beat the Wizards, I would argue. But look, they're winning the margin battles, right? I think the Heat, after that hot start to the season, teams figured them out a little bit, and they had to adjust. And they had to figure out, okay, what's the thing we have to add to our formula to win basketball games? It's not enough to just outrun teams, which is how they were winning games the first 20, 21 games of the season. And now they're winning the rebounding battle. They're winning the turnover battle. It's just the basic four factors, guys. I mean, that's what it is. But there's just there's much more of an emphasis on it. I think the way that Kel'el Ware has played recently has been a really big help for them too. Ware was not even available for that Wizards game, but he's been available for the other ones. And his rebounding off the bench has been really important. And the fact that, they got Tyler Hero back for some of this stretch. He's out again. Norm Powell hasn't played, but Hero has been able to step into that role. And then guys like Pelle Larson, Jaime Jaquez, like these guys are just like glue guys, connecting pieces that are really figuring out sort of their voices on the team now, as sort of hustle guys, in between the lines kind of guys. So all of a sudden they're winning all these four factors margin battles, and these are the four factors for a reason. Like, you win these, and more often than not, you're going to win these basketball games. So they're out here executing. This is not just a matter of, hey, they've won 7 games in a row because all of a sudden they got hot from 3-point range and they couldn't miss. They're taking care of business, and yeah, it helps that they played the Wizards once, they played the Nets twice. They've had some cupcakes on this schedule, but they also beat the Pistons. They beat the Red Hot Hornets at the time. They started this streak with a really good win against Houston. So there's some quality wins in there too.
Another player who had a nice week was Pelle Larson, who scored a career-high 28 points against the Bucks. Larson, in his second season, has become a key rotation player for the Heat. What do you think the next step is for him, and what is like his ceiling? What kind of player can he be?
It's such a great question, and it's one we debate on Locked On Heat all the time. Like, what is this guy?
Yeah.
It's at first he reminded me of like Josh Hart, And I'm wondering if that 3-point, like, he won the game with a 3-point dagger. That's not normally something that Josh Hart does. Like, Pelle Larson, if this 3-ball is for real, that kind of raises his ceiling above maybe a Josh Hart type. I heard a couple of different comparisons for Pelle, but I'm having a hard time. He plays with a level of strength that I think surprises opponents, and I think it's why Pelle tends to get under opponents' skin. He gets into a lot of fights for some reason. And so there's like, I think he stole like the Jimmy Butler shoulder push shot in the lane. And I've been meaning to ask him about it, but I was going to ask him about it last night, but then he was swarmed by media, and it was kind of one of those questions I want to ask one-on-one. But I don't really know what his ceiling is, other than this guy is going to be, to me, I think he's a part of the starting lineup. I don't think it's as simple as when Norm and Hero are healthy that you just put Pelle back to the bench. I don't think it's that simple. He's sort of become like irreplaceable in the rotation. I don't have a great answer for you, because I've been trying to figure out like who he reminds me of, what's the sort of ceiling, but I think this is a guy who could be a high-end rotation player, maybe even a potential like high-end starter on a really good team around the right talent, right? He's not going to be a guy that you're going to be able to rely on every single night for 28 points, but he's a guy that's going to be able to get you 10 to 12 probably on average, and 5 or 6 rebounds, and he even had 6 assists. And I think one of the underrated things about Pelle is he's not just this hustle kind of wing that just fills in the gaps. This guy played on the ball in Eurobasket a lot. And with Hero and Powell and Wiggins both out, all three of those guys out last night against Milwaukee, they needed Pelle to be on the ball, and he ends up dishing 6 assists, which is not something he typically does, but he's obviously and clearly capable of it. So we'll see if they keep feeding him more responsibility. But for now, I would say just sort of like high-end rotation guy, which is, for the 44th pick in the draft, pretty good.
Yeah. So you mentioned Kel'el Ware earlier. He's been getting consistent minutes during this winning streak, averaging around 29 per game. He's had one of the more interesting seasons for a young player, because he'll have these eye-popping box scores followed by stretches where he barely plays. Do you feel like he's finally found his place in this Heat rotation? And how are you feeling about his future in Miami?
So today, on March 13th, the answer is yes. I think he's found his spot in the rotation. But a couple of bad days at practice or shoot around, and he could be back in Spo's doghouse, and that's just the way it's been for 2 years. But look, I like to zoom out when it comes to Kel'el, and I look at what he was when he came into the league and where he is now. And he is leaps and bounds so much better than what he was when he came into the league. I remember the first time the first Heat game I covered of his, was at the California Classic, or whatever they call it, the summer league before the Vegas Summer League in Sacramento. And he was awful. He was so bad in that first summer league game. When I even did the scout work on him ahead of that draft, what I said was he's a guy who should play like a Derek Lively, like a run to the rim kind of guy.
Yeah. Instead,
he does a bad impression of LaMarcus Aldridge almost every single night. And that's what he was in that first summer league game. He was just sort of spinning around, kind of trying to face up, sometimes back to the basket, fadeaways like LaMarcus Aldridge, but just like the shots wouldn't go in, unlike LaMarcus Aldridge. And so I think the Heat were just like, no, we're not going to do any of that anymore. And they basically said, go from A to B. A is the screen, B is the basket. That's what you're going to do. So he became more of that sort of run and jump straight line athlete. And then in the second year, they're like, we're actually going to not run any pick and roll. How about that? All that stuff that we got you to do as a rookie, we're just not going to do any of that. So figure that part of it out. And to his credit, he did. He's dominating the dunker spot. He's flying out for rebounds out of his area. He's to score points. And I just think that turnaround in and of itself, you just don't see that much. That sort of, this guy's 7 feet tall, 7'1" maybe, and he's been able to dominate the way that he's been able to dominate his entire life. And all of a sudden he gets to the NBA, and the Heat are like, all that stuff that you used to do, we're not going to do that anymore. Everything that got you to this point, a first-round pick in the draft, just not going to do that anymore. And then all that stuff we taught you to do in your rookie season, we're not going to do that anymore either. And so I think Kel'el deserves some credit for taking that on the chin and figuring that part of it out. And yeah, I think between him and Bam, like finally those minutes are now positive for them in an overwhelming way during this streak. And I think they're really building on something there.
Looking ahead to the playoffs, how would you rank the top 4 seeds in the East, from least confident the Heat could win the series to most confident?
Okay, so number 1 would be the team that they want to see the least. I I would probably put Boston number 1, even though the Heat would never admit it, right?
Yeah.
But I would put Boston number 1. The Tatum factor is why I think first and foremost. And they don't really have a guy that could just go to even toe-to-toe with Jaylen Brown with the way that Brown is scoring this season. And so I think that that's a thing. So I would put Boston number 1. I would go, and I don't know that I sign off on this, but I would go Detroit number 2. I think they're okay with they've obviously beat the Pistons, so there's proof of concept there. And they beat the Pistons, by the way, by playing the Pistons game, right? Like they out physical the Pistons in that game. The Pistons are going to be able to push a lot of teams in the Eastern Conference around. They're not going to be able to push the Miami Heat around. And I think the Heat are going to would think of that series in that way. Although I think the Pistons are kind of weirdly underrated at this point, but whatever, that's a different thing. I would go the Knicks next. The Heat like the Bam Cat matchup quite a bit. And I think they feel like they have enough guys to throw at Jalen Brunson that they're not as worried about Brunson as maybe some other teams in the East would be. So I would go Knicks next. And then I think they would really like to play the Cavs if they had their choice for a few different reasons, right? I think that first of all, they look at James Harden. They're like, yeah, let's take our chances with that guy. If we could push that series to 7 games, we feel pretty good about it. The way that, Mobley is played, Jared Allen's hurt right now. Like, I think they like that. But more than anything, I think it's the revenge factor, right? The Cavs just completely embarrassed them last year in the first round of the playoffs. To historic proportions. And I think if the Heat had their choice, like they could just pick their first round opponent, they would pick Cleveland just to try to get revenge.
Well, Wes, thank you for answering all of our Heat related questions. It is now time to play Andrew versus the Beat, our weekly trivia show where Andrew goes head to head against an NBA beat writer. This week, Wes Goldberg from the Locked On Heat podcast. Now, Wes, I've come up with 8 questions about the Heat. You'll give me a number between 1 and 8. It'll correspond to a question. If you get it right, you'll get at least 2 points. If you get it wrong, Andrew will have a chance to steal 1, and we'll go back and forth until all the questions have been asked and answered. So to start us off, I just need a number between 1 and 8.
So the last time you guys had me on, I was really bad at this, and Andrew beat me. And I did start with my favorite number, and I'm going to go ahead and do that again. Despite my better judgment. I'm going to go with 4.
Question number 4. Okay, well, this is a good one. Bam. His previous high coming into this week was 41. Only 13 other players in Heat franchise history have had a 40-point game, and we're going to name them all. So how this works is Wes, you'll give me a name, then Andrew will give me a name. We'll go back and forth. And just to give you a little heads up, there were only 5 guys who had multiple 40-point games in Heat history. So that means 8 of the guys on this list only had one 40-point game. Just to give you a little heads up. So, Wes, start us off with a name.
This is other than Bam?
Yes, other than Bam. Anyone else in Heat franchise history?
D-Wade.
D-Wade, number 1 on the list. Andrew?
LeBron.
LeBron, number 2 on the list. Back to Wes.
Glenn Rice.
Glenn Rice, number 3 on the list. You guys are doing great. Andrew?
Jimmy
Butler. Wait, why is he not on this list? He obviously did.
Not in the regular season.
Oh my gosh. Wow. That's the first time where I tricked myself because I'm looking at the list. He's not on the list, but I'm like, well, he must have done it.
He was. That was the problem with the Jimmy Butler era in Miami. He just sandbagged it until the playoffs.
Wow. I didn't, but yes, this was a regular season. Sorry, Andrew.
Wow.
I'm giving those points to Wes.
Wow.
Wes, who else would you have said?
CB. Chris Bosh.
Chris Bosh, yeah, he had 1.
Yeah.
Eddie Jones?
No, another miss for Andrew. Taking more points off of Andrew. Alonzo Mourning, Tyler Hero, Sherman
Tim
Douglas, Hardaway, Shaq, Oladipo. Oh, that was a fun one.
That's right. Oladipo, the last game of the season against the Magic.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did Dion do it that one crazy year?
No, Dion did not do it.
Is Dragic on that list? What's Dragic's?
No, Jaime Jaquez Jr. and then Wiggins.
That's right, against Philly.
And then
Wiggins,
I don't know how to pronounce this player's name. Ronnie Cycli?
Oh, Ronnie Cycli.
Ronnie Cycli.
Oh, Ronnie Cycli, yeah.
That's a name that gets, by the way, a Pelle Larson comp. Ronnie Cycli. Go look at Ronnie Cycli's stuff. Look at the Basketball Reference. That's a name that gets thrown around locally a lot with him. I don't love it, but it does get thrown around.
Okay, well, Wes, good job picking your favorite number to start because you do have 2 points. Andrew.
Wow. Number 1.
Okay, now this question's hard. I'm going to give you hints, okay?
Uh-oh.
Bam Adebayo attempted 22 three-pointers in his historic 83-point game. Only 6 other players in NBA history have attempted that many threes in a game. Now, 4 of the names are obvious. Dame, Steph, Clay, Harden. But can you name either of the other 2 players who have taken 22 threes in a game? Now, before you answer, I'm going to give you 4 hints because it's kind of challenging. First hint, both are considered role players who can be streaky shooters. Both won one of the 4 major NBA awards. They won one of them. Both played 1 season with the Lakers. One is active, one is retired. Any guesses?
Won an award.
Yeah, so they both won either the MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, Sixth Man of the Year, or Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
They won one of those awards in their career.
And played with the Lakers.
The Lakers. The only team they had in common.
Both played for the Lakers?
Yeah, at one point.
And one's active and one's not. Okay.
One's active, one's retired.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, it's tough. So I gave you the hints.
Yeah. Who would that be?
Who would that be?
And they're both considered role players, you said?
I would say so, yes.
Okay. Golly.
Any guesses, Andrew?
The Lakers one is almost like hanging me up more than it is helping me right now.
Oh, really? Oh, I'm sorry about that. That's my bad. I was just trying to help out. Give you some hints.
There was that weird like post Kobe malaise of just like random players coming in and out too, which
right
feels like that's probably where
I know that's like where
non-active player.
And I think of it as like probably a time where they had like it was like maybe at the end of their career they just like popped onto the Lakers for a second.
That's true because that does happen.
It seems like that's probably not.
Was this a role player, their whole career
going.
role player, or a role player at the time of?
I would say both of these guys, role players or
career role players.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't even know who to guess, Al.
Are you giving up?
I don't want to give up, but I also don't want to keep this going.
Okay, so are you passing?
Yeah, I'll pass. I just don't. I don't even
any better here. Why?
I don't even know where to begin.
Wes, any ideas? It's tough. It's tough.
Jamal Crawford.
That's a good guess. The 2 answers: J.R. Smith.
Oh, of course it was.
Sixth Man of the Year. And Marcus Smart.
Marcus Smart has a 22 3-point attempt game?
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
You know what? That's less surprising than it should be.
I'm
all right,
disgusted
Wes,
with myself.
You have control of the board.
Let's go 3, Dwayne Wade.
Question number 3. Bam's 83-point performance. I promise not all these questions are about Bam. It bumped his scoring average up to 20 points per game, which means the Heat now have 3 players averaging 20 points per game. There are only 2 other teams who can say the same. Who are they? And you get 1 point per correct answer. So
Lakers.
That is correct for a point.
And 20 points per game. Is it? I don't think Mobley's at 20. Feels like this one's obvious too. If I answer incorrectly, right, it goes straight to Andrew?
Correct. He will have a chance to steal a point.
Okay. Give me This is why I'm so bad at trivia. I'm like, what are NBA teams? Like, I'm not trying to like remember other NBA teams. Like, my mind just gets blocked.
You have to go back to the basics.
This is wrong. Give me the Knicks.
The Knicks is incorrect. Andrew, have you thought of a name?
I've thought of a name. I think this is Orlando.
It is Orlando.
Oh,
it's the Orlando Magic.
Yeah.
All right, Andrew, you're down 3-1, but you have control of the board.
Number 2.
Question number 2. Per Cleaning the Glass, the Heat have the 4th ranked defense this season. The last time Miami did not have a top 10 ranked defense on Cleaning the Glass, you have to go all the way back to the 2014-15 season. Who led the 14-15 Heat in total minutes played?
Oh my gosh. 14-15.
14-15 Heat. Was that a memorable Heat team for you, Andrew? You have a lot of memories about that team?
The year after LeBron left. So this first
Yeah,
year
I think
after
that was
LeBron
like
left.
I think that was like the weird Wade Bosch, like we're pretty good Heat team. What about Mario Chalmers?
Oh, Andrew, he was second and only behind by about 40 minutes. All right, Wes, do you have a guess?
Luol Deng?
It was Luol Deng.
Oh,
Andrew.
dang it.
Iron Man.
So
Luol Deng.
close.
Hang
All right,
it.
Wes, you're on a roll. The board is yours.
Let's go 4 twice. 8.
4 twice, thank you.
Let's do 4 again. Run it back.
Okay, who has been blocked the most on the Heat this season?
Which player has had their shots
shot
blocked?
blocked.
Jaime Jaquez Jr.
That is correct. 2 points. Wow. Wes,
That makes sense.
up to 6 points.
Oh no.
I feel like I count. It might be 2 per game.
All right, Andrew. The comeback has to start now.
Okay. 5.
Okay, bad choice. Which of the following stories about Bernie, the Heat's mascot, is not true?
Oh, okay.
I'm going to tell you 5 stories about Bernie. 4 of them are true.
Okay.
1 of them is not. Okay.
Okay.
So
okay.
lock in. You got to focus on these stories.
I'm locked in.
Bernie once went to the hospital after being punched by Conor McGregor during a skit. That's number 1.
Okay.
Number 2, Bernie was once sued by an elementary school teacher who alleged that Bernie forced her to do the splits during a pep rally, causing a labral tear. That's story number 2. Story number 3, Bernie once got in a physical altercation with Fun Ship Freddy, the Carnival Cruise Line's mascot, in the tunnel during a Heat game that led to Fun Ship Freddy being banned from future Heat games. That's story number 3. Story number 4. Bernie once sprayed a section of fans with water. In that section was NBA legend Dolph Shays, who punched Bernie in the face. And story 5. Bernie once pulled a woman onto the court by her legs in Puerto Rico. The woman turned out to be the wife of a Puerto Rico Supreme Court judge, and Bernie was sued for aggravated assault and battery. All right, Andrew, which of those is not true?
They all sound like they could be true.
Oh my gosh. The Dolph Shays one?
Nope, that's true.
Uh,
Wes, you want me to give you a quick synopsis of all of them, or do you remember?
No, I was paying attention.
Okay.
Give me the cruise ship, Freddy. Freddy, is that the?
You nailed it. Yes.
dang it.
Andrew, he didn't get in a fight with Fun Ship Freddy. Come on. Actually, the story with Fun Ship Freddy is that on Bernie's birthday, he tried to do a front flip over 8 mascots who were laying down on the court, and he did not make it and landed squarely on Fun Ship Freddy. And it looks like it was really painful.
Classic Bernie, taking on more than he can chew.
Is there a video of Dolph Shays punching him in the face?
I don't know about that. There is a video of him jumping onto Fun Ship Freddy, which is very funny to watch. So you can watch that.
Wow.
Okay, Wes, commanding lead and control the board.
Oh, this is bad.
So give me my favorite number plus D Wade. We're gonna go 7.
Okay, 7. Of the top 15 most played 2-man lineups for the Heat, this 2-man lineup has the highest net rating at plus 11. Who is in the lineup? And you get 1 point per correct answer. And just as a general guide, all these lineups are more than 700 minutes together. So this is top 15 most played 2-man lineups.
Bam.
Wrong.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Andrew.
Wrong. That's just extremely abrupt. Let me think. Davion Mitchell.
That is correct for 1 point.
That's a good guess.
Now, Wes, do you have chickens?
I do not. Where is that chicken noise coming from?
There is a goose outside.
Oh, it's a goose?
Door. Yes.
There's a goose
Tell
outside
that
your
goose
door.
it sounds like a chicken.
It is on top of my vehicle right now, staring at me through the window.
Well, you know what happens next.
Taunting me as I'm losing in trivia right
That
now.
goose is
I'm
about
not
to poop on your car.
Oh, it has multiple times.
Okay.
And it is taunting me. I'm already like getting just killed and like raked over the coals in trivia, and I have this goose staring at me the whole time.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, you have a real goose problem, a geese problem, I suppose.
Yeah, we have a pond behind our house, which is just asking for a goose problem.
I hear gooses like ponds. Geese,
Yeah,
like ponds.
Gooses? Did I say gooses? Geese.
I said gooses.
Oh,
Well, I'm sure we had some listeners who were wondering what that was the whole time, so that's why I wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
I guess I don't know what geese sound like.
They sound like chickens.
Apparently.
Never heard that before. I don't know. Jaime Jaquez.
It is Pelle Larson.
Ah.
Okay, Andrew, you get the first chance at the last question. The Heat received a second round pick this week from Charlotte. That's you gotta be feeling great about that, Wes, huh? Stemming from the
they
Terry
got Pelle
Rozier
Larson in
trade.
the second round.
That's true. Andrew, what was the most points Terry Rozier scored in a game for the Heat? You get to choose who answers first. You can make Wes answer first, and then you go higher or lower. Or you can answer first, and then Wes would go higher or lower.
34.
All right. Wes, would you like to go higher or lower than 34?
I'll go lower.
Andrew, what an incredible finish. That was the exact right answer. Terry Rozier scored 34 points. You get a bonus point.
Yeah!
So this ends up being closer than we thought. The final score, Wes 7, Andrew 5.
Wow, that is that's a
What's
miracle.
that goose got to say now? What's that goose
Yeah.
got to say
Yeah,
now?
yeah. Go let him know.
Listen, Goose, I only lost by 2. I know you've been taunting me this whole time. Go listen to Locked On Heat. Also, go listen to Real GM Radio, where you can find Wes. Great podcaster. Go listen to him. Wes, thanks for coming on.
This was fun, guys. Thanks.
All right, Andrew. That was Heat Week, and
Heat
good luck
Week.
to these other teams. I don't know if you're going to be able to beat Heat Week. And I got to say, we have, how many teams we have left? 15. There's a lot of great teams.
Yeah.
I would say the only rough ones here, Kings and Pacers.
Yeah.
Every other team, even the Pelicans, I think would be interesting to
Okay.
watch and talk about. you know?
Okay.
But let's spin that wheel, see who we get. This week's Wheel of Fandom team will be... the Phoenix Suns. We barely escaped the Kings.
Yeah, we did
The
narrowly escape
Suns.
the Kings.
The Suns currently only a game back of the 6th seed.
Yeah,
Now they have a lot of injuries right now.
they
With
do.
Mark
But
Williams out and Dylan Brooks, but they've won 4 in a row. Let's see who they're playing. Okay, this week the Suns are playing, starting off at Toronto,
okay.
another team that's struggling.
Yeah.
I don't know why I said another team. The Suns aren't struggling. They are playing a team that is struggling, named the
Yes.
Toronto Raptors.
Yes.
Monday at Boston.
Oh,
Ooh.
okay. I like that.
Tuesday at Minnesota. The team they were only
That's a
one game
really
behind.
big one. That's a really big game. That's a
That's
really big
huge.
game.
Thursday at the Spurs.
Oh my.
That's a great lineup.
Yeah, we got a big week for the Suns. That's a good one.
Suns week trying to beat Heat Week.
They are trying. We'll see. I mean, they've got. I mean, Devin Booker is a guy that could go off for 100. You think?
Absolutely. He should do it this week. It'd be really nice of him.
Yeah.
It'd be great for our show.
Please do it. Please do it for Suns Week. Hey, go leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or read it on the show. Would really appreciate that. Hope everybody's doing well. Enjoy your weekend and the basketball, and we'll talk to you guys again next week.